I'm Marion. This is Andrew Bond, the painter of...
So this is theme on Stargazers. So a curious name, and what it was it came from an exhibition all about Nipper, the dog. Now Nipper was a dog painted originally with the gramophone here by a chap called Francis Barrard in the very late 19th century. And he sold the image to EMI, who was the music company, and it went on to become one of the most famous corporate logos in history, certainly in music history. And so I was thinking about the dog and music, and about when I paint, I always paint with music. It's part of my inspiration. So I thought it would be quite a nice idea to incorporate the dog into the paintings as if he's enjoying the music, although he died well over 100 years ago. This particular painting, Theme on Stargazers, is the name comes from a jazz musician's tune. His name was Sun Ra. He died back in the early 1990s, and he produced music from the 1930s right through to the 1990s. So I wanted to sort of get the feeling of jazz, hence why we've got lots of sort of free-form sort of feeling with the picture, and lots of colour, lots of vibrancy, lots of sort of sharp shapes and things like that. To me, that's sort of how the free-form flow of jazz music, sort of how I interpret it in my head anyway.
So where did the boat idea come from?
Okay, the boat idea, that originally comes from probably about 10 years ago. I started painting the boat, and I used it as a symbol of colonisation, really, of people coming into new lands. I know most people these days come via aeroplanes, but back in the day it was all via boats. So I used the boat as a symbol of arrival into a new land, and wherever we are, we come from somewhere, more particularly in New Zealand. And so the boat comes from that idea of arriving from somewhere else. The horses' heads, lots of my pictures are full of animals, but they're always introduced animals. And again, it was the idea of animals being introduced via the colonial project, and these animals were seen as useful, seen as what would improve the new land that they were going to turn it into a country that, for whatever reason, they thought this is the way we want our to turn the new country into.
I also get a big mythical buzz off it.
Yes.
So it's, it feels like it's harking back through thousands of years sometimes, if you think about going over the River Styx or something like that. Just a thought. And then I was thinking about little Nipper, who's no longer alive.
Yeah.
But he's actually survived generations and generations through all this time. Does that kind of idea of the way of looking at it work for you?
It does, because I'm a keen study of the old myths, particularly the Greek myths, and so it's sort of, you're right, it does have that feeling of an underworld or a beyond this world now, where we're crossing over into something else, and it's sort of a pretend underworld. And maybe that's what these figures are as well, new figures falling into the underworld, falling into this new land, this new existence.
It seems to be recycled, like there's a recycling of things, because of, the bodies, some of them have got muscles on them, and some of them are skeletal, and then but they seem to be in progress.
Yeah, and I also like the idea that the skeleton and the body here, the muscular body, I see them as almost like witnesses to what's going on.
Oh yeah.
They're always at the side, they're always looking on, so they're as if they're a humanity witnessing the change or the ongoing change, but the change is always the same. So as you say, the recycling thing. So that idea comes from there. The idea of the double-headed horse, that's all about memory. A lot of my works have the idea of memory that's sort of there but sort of made up. The very first movie I saw in my life that I remember was way back in probably 1968, 69. I was in preschool, and my parents took me along to Dr. Dolittle, which was a nice little Disney movie, and in it featured lots of these strange animals, and one of these animals was a push me pull you, which was a double-headed horse like this. And that image has always stayed with me as a throwback to the myth of memory, the myth of what we sort of remember, but we really kind of remember it and kind of don't. It's sort of made up of little snippets, and then between the snippets, it's filler. We sort of fill up this memory with stuff that suits our own personality, our own agenda, our own thoughts. So for me, that's where the double-headed horse comes from. We've got this figure up top. These are all in black and white because, again, it's the idea of memory. It's the idea of old photographs being black and, well, certainly old photographs from my era were always black and white. So I used a lot of black and white to portray that idea of this is what's gone before.
Or dreams.
Dreams, yeah.
Because there's also that thing which is also a wee bit like jazz of things that come together out of strange connections in your own mind, which you could do in an active state, but you're also always doing it in a dream state.
Yeah, exactly.
In a dream state.
Yeah. Why a stretched body? I think the ideas of the bodies, stretched out bodies without heads, because I wanted these bodies to be active, but I didn't want them to be like specific people. But because they're active, they seem to, in my mind, and this wasn't intentional, but I think this has come later, that I see them as having personalities, even without heads. They sort of, because of their activity that they're doing. This picture's only got the one body, but many others have got multiple bodies doing all sorts of activities and whatnot. So that's where the body comes from. So these days I sort of put more heads in, but and colour as well. But at this stage I was sort of, when would I do this? I think I did this about 2 years ago, I painted this. I was very interested in that idea of activity and personality, but without the obvious personality of a face that gives us so much information. And
ends up driving a narrative.
That's right, yes.
And if you want to have a more open attitude to narrative, faces really get in the way.
They do.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Which is around this area here with this gesture of the green and then that figure. Now I'm imagining that you made a kind of washy base and then put this heavy paint.
Yes, that's right.
And so your decision around putting the figure on is in response to the green, not the other way around.
Yes.
So
the same with here in this shape, and the space in here as well. It just sort of seems to, my personal sort of sense of.
It's actually composition as well.
Yeah.
Because you're creating the structure through the figuration.
Yeah.
A lot more. Do you feel?
Definitely. So you're right. I start these pictures on the floor.
Yeah.
I lay out, probably I have about 5 or 6 canvases on the floor of my garage at home. And I just slosh a whole lot of acrylic on them, and I really bleed the acrylic into it. So there's quite a lot of coats of thin washes, and they really soak into the canvas.
And the music's really playing while you're doing that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is not a head thing, it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very physical, And then once they're dry, I take them into my studio, hang them up on my wall, and at this stage I was always starting the paintings with these two figures, or these two witnesses. So they were sort of like bookending what was going on. And then I was imagining, okay, what is it that they're witnessing? What is it that they're seeing? And then the music's playing, and what's jumping into my mind. With this particular one, the first thing was the boat, and then the horse figure, and then the body. I knew I wanted Nipper and the gramophone, so they were then added. The other thing I put into a lot of my paintings is these golden, well, they're crosses, but I think of them in my mind as almost celestial sort of stars.
Okay.
Hence why we're stargazing. These are the stargazers. Yeah. These are the stars that they're gazing at. Today I tend to do one large star and lots of small ones, but at this stage I was doing only this size, and so that's how they came about, and what's driving those. I also have up here a reasonably arcane sort of symbol. Back when I very first started painting, back in the 1990s, I was in Auckland and I was walking down Mount Eden Road, and the Time Out bookshop, which is a very well-known bookshop there, had a display of new art books in their window, and one of them was a book called Alchemy and Mysticism. And I went in and bought this book, and since then that book has always informed what I'm doing. I loved the old, it was full of maps and paintings and pictures and drawings, and so this is lifted from there, and it sort of has this Jungian feel to it, like it's got some arcane power, yet we can't.
I know, because it's often about metaphysics. It's when science was mixed with the divine.
Yes.
So the idea of separating science from philosophical issues at that point didn't exist.
It was an anathema to them.
So the work you're making feels like it's more like that type of fusion of something metaphysical with the reality of memory.
Hence why the let's call it a world. I don't know if it's a world, but it's a sort of a self-contained metaphysical idea. And I think that speaks to our feeling of we always want to come up with answers to our existence, to our place in the universe. And although the answers are as varied as there are people, they're quite important for our self-belief, the way we look at ourselves, because they give us some sort of footing, some sort of grounding in what ultimately is a situation that we're never going to get an exact answer on it, because it's not our place to have an exact answer on it, but we're born with this need for that. So that's where those come from.